Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where here's a question for you, one that's really bothering me actually, okay? So this is it. If you're a studio like Marvel that has such a winning formula that other studios, well, let's say, constantly pay homage to it to be polite, why would you not apply that winning formula to every single film that you release? And of course I'm talking about their next one up at bat, Doctor Strange, whose tickets went on sale today to not much fanfare. Now, I've known that tickets were going to go on sale for a couple of days now, not because of any announcements that Marvel made, but because I'm constantly checking my theaters of choice on Fandango, to see, when the tickets are being released. Because not every movie makes a big announcement. The big blockbusters do, but sometimes it'll be a surprise. Like, for instance, the Kevin Hart tickets went on sale like a month in advance, right? But they didn't make a big deal about that. But they wouldn't because it's not that type of movie. But anyway, I knew this was happening. And so I fully expected a final trailer to be released today to accompany the tickets going on sale. But lo and behold, it didn't drop. There is no final trailer. Maybe it'll come in the next couple of days. But you know what? Here's the thing. Marvel didn't have to release tickets for Doctor Strange on Columbus Day. They can pick any day they want because when they're doing it so far in advance to put tickets on sale. So they could have coincided it with a better day to release said final trailer. What did they do? Well, they released a featurette, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but it's a quiet thing. It's not like a huge, it's not something that's going to create like the Omega level PR event that you would want when you put tickets on sale, especially for a movie like Doctor Strange, which has so many hurdles to overcome at the box office. Benedict Cumberbatch, not a big draw. It's not very well defined as a movie quite yet. And I don't think that it still is, although we'll talk about that in just a moment. But then also they have because I'm sure some of you are saying this, they have the 15-minute IMAX preview tonight across the country on some screens. But again, that's not going to get the same bang for your buck that a final trailer would. A final trailer, it's a genius thing that Hollywood has invented, the final trailer. This is just about a year old, actually, I believe. And it's really smart because it's so easy to tag in metadata, right? Sometimes there's confusion as to what's trailer 2, what's trailer number 3, what trailer are we on again? But a final trailer is really clear cut in the ability to label it in headlines and on YouTube videos, on Twitter, and social media, all kinds of social media. And there's a finality to it because it is the final trailer. You're like, this is it. The movie's so close to coming out that there are no more trailers. And I also feel that Doctor Strange had their best piece of advertising yet. Actually someone tweeted me this morning a really great billboard in Hong Kong with Doctor Strange coming through from an alternate dimension through a building. That was pretty cool. But in terms of like actual spots that you can watch. I thought the TV spot that premiered during The Flash was very, very good. It was the strongest thing they've done yet. And I've covered that, and I'll put a link down below in the video description to that my coverage of that TV spot. Well, 2 TV spots, actually. The TV spots for Doctor Strange, I think, are much stronger than the trailers. And then also the featurette that they just released. But I don't understand, like The Flash, very potent audience, but not nearly the kind of coverage that you would get if you released a final trailer. And I don't think the Time Stone TV spot got the kind of attention that the Doctor Strange needs, right? So what I'm saying is, why waste that on a TV spot for a limited audience, potent but limited, when you could have used that backwards and the ticking clock really effectively in a final trailer? Now, again, a final trailer could still hit, but it doesn't coincide with the tickets on sale, which is the way this is supposed to work. And it's the way that Marvel has done it in the past. And so I just think it's very odd. And I don't understand, why create a B team of movies? Sure, one might emerge, but why handicap a movie out of the gate and put it in the B team? You would think that Marvel would want to give every movie they release every chance to be a huge hit. Because look at Guardians of the Galaxy. That's not a B-team movie, even though it was the first. That performed better than some of I think most of the solo movies of the Holy Trinity of when it comes to Marvel. Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. So I feel that it's been very odd. Now, as for this featurette, I want to touch on that that's the thing. The featurette was so light that I didn't even feel it warranted its own video. I decided to move this to Morning Movie News. And basically, they showed a couple of trippy visual effects and they really played up the Steve Ditko artwork. And I think that is in direct response to people like myself and many others who feel the same way, saying that this is really a little bit too close to Nolan's work for comfort, not only Inception, but also Batman Begins. And so I think it's trying to move it out of, you'll notice that they didn't show any of those kind of visual effects in the featurette, but they're still going to be there. And then if that's the case, how do you marry the two, right? How do you have these really trippy visual effects and then these really austere, realistic ones in the same film? How do you go from MC Escher to an acid trip, right? It's very odd. It's like, this is the weirdest art gallery I've ever seen. It's not put together correctly. You can't just take an art gallery and shake it up, right? Unless that's the point, but I don't think Doctor Strange is about art. But he doesn't seem to be about magic either. I think really focusing on alternate dimensions, even though that's where Doctor Strange's origins come from, is a tricky choice. I mean, alternate dimensions must be super important to whatever they're doing with Infinity War for Marvel to refuse to deviate from pushing that so strongly. But in the comics, for I'd say at least the last decade or so, I think that Doctor Strange has really focused more on magic than alternate realities, and demons and stuff like that. I mean, he has not been a really big alternate dimension guy. So I think that while I'm sure there are some hardcore comic book fans who will be like, yes, this is taking Doctor Strange back to his roots, I think there are going to be more people who are comic book readers like myself, and I'm sure many of you, who are like, this isn't the character that I recognize from the comics that I'm even reading right now, the new Doctor Strange comic, which has some discussion of alternate realities, but still the focus is on magic. The focus is very strongly on magic. And so I'm curious as to what the focus will be in the movie. And that's not a bad comic, by the way, by Jason Aaron. It's pretty good, actually. But I think that Doctor Strange continues to not be well defined. But I'm curious, what do you think of the ad campaign for this movie? Are you excited about it? And do you feel that you have a good idea of what Doctor Strange is? And is Doctor Strange its own movie, its own entity? Or is it really just a building block to Avengers Infinity War? And I think for a movie to really succeed, it needs to be both. We'll see. I'm very curious. But anyway, no matter how you slice it, the whole episode today is about Disney movies. So they've got that going for them, right? Or Disney properties. But then we do have a Warner Brothers question at the end. But the second thing I want to talk about is that on Friday they debuted the trailer, the first look at the Tangled series, which is going to be going to the Disney Channel in 2017. So this is pretty interesting for a couple of reasons. One, the return of 2D animation. And I think that actually this mimics the really great artwork that was on display in the end credits for Tangled. For instance, I don't know about you, but I felt this way, and I've seen a couple other people say this, that when they watch the end credits, they're like, that artwork's really cool. Where was that movie? I would have liked to have seen that. But, Tangled was successful, and it did kind of kickstart the current Disney Renaissance. But what's interesting, in addition to the 2D animation, also they're returning her to her long blonde magic hair, which I think is also an interesting choice, particularly because this is supposed to take place between the end of the movie and the wedding. I guess they don't want to have a married couple running around for some reason. I'm like, I don't think little kids I think everybody, I'll be curious to see how many people watch this. But anyway, I think it's, of course you want to have her the long blonde magic hair, but then, I question the choice to get rid of it in the first place, because there's something to be said. There's a strong statement being made about long blonde magical hair being, sacrificed for, short brown hair. It's an interesting situation. I don't know if guys would be aware of this, but there's always been a push and pull between who has more fun, blondes or brunettes, right? And so what's the most desirable is an interesting question always, of course. And so I think that Tangled kind of to some degree finds itself in the middle there, right? Like, what is better for Rapunzel, having the long blonde magic hair or the short brown spunky, more realistic hair? So I'm it's I think that they've created a little bit of a conundrum there for themselves. But I think that Mandy Moore and Zachary Levi returning is great, although I don't really think they're much in demand for their time. So I'm glad. But I think that it's nice that Disney's a steady paycheck, and even Kristen Bell has talked about constantly returning to record voiceover work for Anna for Frozen. So maybe it's built into their contracts in some way, but certainly not for a series, because we've seen many movies get series, like for instance The Emperor's New Groove, where they do not have the voice talent return. So it is nice that they did come back. But I think that another reason that Tangled's coming back is because it's very strong in merchandise. I always see it at the Disney store, I see it in the parks, it has its fans. And also, this is going to be joining Elena of Avalor, which is a CGI princess series on the Disney Channel, which I actually think is excellent, and I actually watched watch it. I think it's very good. I think Elena is supposed to be their first Latina princess. I think she's a wonderful character. I think there are great lessons to be had, and I just really think I can't say enough good things about Elena of Avalor, and this Tangled series featuring Rapunzel, you can only hope that it would be so good. But what's also interesting is that there are, of course, some Disney animation movies that are going to go to this big screen for their sequels. Frozen, Zootopia, the $1 Billion Club ones. But I think this would really be great if this succeeds to maybe bring Tiana back from The Princess and the Frog, which is truly, the first, one of the first movies of the Disney Renaissance, but it was the last 2D one. Fabulous character, but she spent a lot of the movie as a frog, which I think ultimately hurt the film. And I think has kept Tiana from really being the full-fledged Disney princess. I mean, she's officially a Disney princess, but I think she'd have a stronger presence if she'd spent more of her movie as a human. So if she had a TV series, so we got a lot more time with Tiana as a human in her restaurant with Prince Naveen, dealing with, princess things that she would have to do. Maybe going back to his homeland. I think that would be really fantastic. So I think it's great to see the Disney Princess brand expanding. I think it's interesting to see how they're divvying up where they go. I'm curious, are you excited about the Tangled? I'll put a link down below to that trailer as well. I'm curious if you're excited for that series. Do you want to maybe see a Tiana series? And what do you think of her going back to the long blonde magic hair? Now, the next story of the day, also again, as I said, is Disney, is that Black Panther continues to be the movie for any black talent in Hollywood. It's like the place to be seen for both established and emerging talent. And late last week, they added a bunch of new people to the cast. Forrest Whitaker is going to be playing Zuri, an elder statesman in Wakanda. There you go. There is a Marvel Star Wars crossover. I'd be very curious to how that plays for us, the audience, for us fans. Are we going to be like Saw Gerrera? What's he doing over in Wakanda? But I think that Zuri, elder statesman, really is just for show, like just to get Forrest Whitaker in there. Like Forrest Whitaker's like, this is an important movie. I want to be a part of it. Now, of course, that means the big get would be Denzel, maybe for a sequel. But they've also added Daniel Kaluuya from not only Get Out, which is certainly a very controversial and buzzy movie already. That's the Jordan Peele horror movie film about a black guy who goes home to meet his white girlfriend's parents, and more than the worst happens. But also, of course, he first came onto people's radars for his work on Black Mirror. So I think that his star is very quickly rising. He's going to play a confidant to T'Challa named W'Kabi. I would really like to see somebody here, though, be a Wakandan scientist. I think that it's great to play up the regal aspects and the political aspects of Wakanda, but let's not forget that Wakanda is supposed to be very advanced scientifically. I mean, that's where Bucky went to go back on ice. That's who he trusted to help him, and who probably can cure him and get him a new arm, right? Or put his arm back on. So I would love to see some characters who are Wakandan scientists to play that up. And then also Florence Kasumba is officially a member of the cast, and she, of course, not of course, but she played the Dora Milaje, the member of the Dora Milaje, Black Panther's personal female bodyguards in Civil War. And she made quite an impression with like one or two lines. She was fantastic, and I'm glad she'll be returning. I hope she's the leader of the... Oh, well, actually, that's the actress, I believe, from... I'm not sure off the top of my head, from Walking Dead, but I think Florence Kasumba did a fantastic job and deserves an expanded presence in the Black Panther movie. So what do you think? Do you think the Black Panther, it's a fine line between being just a great movie that's politically important to being something that's politically important that happens to be a movie? What do you think the balance should be? Do you think the Black Panther should focus so much on being the Black Marvel movie, the Black superhero movie, or should it just focus on being a Marvel movie first? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. I'm very excited for it, and I think the primary reason that I'm excited for it is that I just like Ryan Coogler so much. I have tremendous faith in him creatively. Now let's go to the viewer question, which will be a Disney palate cleanser for those of you who are like, why? It's like Disney's the Marsha Brady of Hollywood. So anyway, does that make Warner Brothers Jan? All right, so Brody Rule says, hey Grace, I'm back from Canada with another question, this time concerning DVD and streaming sales for movies. Almost all the time, we judge a film's financial success and whether or not it does well at the box office in its theatrical release. But can the sales from DVD or streaming ever be enough to label a movie a success and possibly guarantee a sequel? For example, I personally think it's impossible now to label Batman v Superman a failure, given how big the Ultimate Edition was on streaming. What do you think? Great question, Brody. particularly in light of Suicide Squad's own extended cut being announced late last week. Here's the thing. One of I think of the best examples is Austin Powers. Austin Powers, the first movie, did okay when it was released, but it was so strong on streaming and on airing on TV, etc., that the legend of Austin Powers grew, so that when they decided to greenlight a sequel because of the strength, but then when the sequel debuted, it acted like a major blockbuster because the brand had grown so much in the home market. But I think that the point is not always so much how much money a movie makes, but if it can change the narrative of the film, like it did with Austin Powers. Austin Powers became a household name. Austin Powers became something everybody knew, and suddenly it was a big deal. But I think that with Batman v Superman, because the media is so, and some people are, and just in general, I've said this before, I feel like it's comic book movies have become almost like a political discussion. Some people are so against the movie that they have not changed their feelings on it despite its success in the streaming market. And let's not forget its box office success, although it should have made $1 billion. But I think that while it's impossible to call Batman v Superman a financial failure, I think it's a financial underperformer even still. I think that despite the success it's had in streaming, the narrative hasn't changed. The overall impression hasn't changed. Right now, I think the narrative when it comes to DCEU movies is and this is not my feeling, but the quote unquote is, how do these crappy movies keep making so much money? I think that is the narrative that's being pushed, not only by the media and in Hollywood, but also I think in the fan space by the people who are there's people obviously supporting the Batman v Superman movies, but the other voice that's against the DCEU movies, because it's backed up by the industry and the media, it's still a little bit stronger. And I think in some ways you could argue certainly strong enough to make it the majority opinion. So I think that, it really depends. And I think that especially because of social media and because fans are now so much a part of the conversation, someone reminded me of my comment about this, that you can weaponize social media and stuff like that. I think that while streaming and things can turn around the financial narrative for a movie, it doesn't always necessarily change the overall impression of that film. So that's my opinion on it. And I think that Suicide Squad, will see how the narrative has changed. Will David Ayer be vindicated by this new cut? Will people be like, oh, well, it never could have been fixed because it's still a mess, right? And also, what are people going to start taking away in terms of Warner Brothers consistently doing this, releasing, a shorter cut in theaters and then an extended, many people will feel superior cut on Blu-ray. What's that? How's that going to affect the narrative? Because people will be pushing that as well. It's very political. It's very much like a political campaign with different parties and the narratives that the party itself pushes and that its opponents push. And I think that's very much what we're witnessing. So that's my thoughts on it, Brody. Thank you so much for your question. Great question. Thank you everybody for tuning in today. Please write down below thinking today's top 3 stories, Brody's viewer question, anything you'd like us to cover tomorrow, and any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.